What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Unsportsmanlike Conduct. And today we're doing a little bit something different. First of all, I'm going to start with the WTF of the week because I just need to get on this real quick because I'm just itching to talk about it. But then I'm going to have a special guest on. So that's pretty exciting. I'm trying something new. I'm trying to have someone in through a Zoom call. So hopefully the technology and all that works out in my favor because I'm not really sure if I'm going to be doing this right. But fingers crossed that works out. And we're going to be talking about the NBA All-Star reserves that have been announced. We'll see what players maybe got snubbed and those who didn't. And also, we will talk a little bit about the NFL, in particular about one particular team that happens to be my guest's favorite football team. So all that coming up. But first, I'm going to start with the WTF of the week because I haven't done one in a little bit. And then I saw this video a couple days ago, and it really just honestly pissed me off. And it's obviously, most of you have probably seen it. It's from Cam Newton's football camp. And he has all these kids there for his camp, for a thing that he's putting together or something like that. He decides to show up there in person to just go and kind of talk to these kids and give them, some motivation, let them ask questions, whatever it may be. And some kid decides to be the smart mouth and pretty much tell Cam Newton, remind him that he's a free agent and doesn't have a job. This is some 16-year-old probably who, hasn't accomplished much in his football career, telling a former MVP quarterback that led his team to the Super Bowl that he stinks, pretty much, and that he doesn't have a job. And this just is, to me, it's a huge problem, not just in just what's going on in today's society, but also just in the lack of respect for someone like Cam Newton. The league, I wouldn't say has lost respect for him. He got a chance to start last year for the Patriots. Didn't have a great year, but he's been banged up. But Cam Newton deserves some respect for his accomplishments. And also, like I said, I just think that this is just really sad to me to see a kid like this talking to Cam Newton like that. Like, there's a former MVP in the league. And even if he was a quarterback, honestly, even if it was just Johnny Manziel, let's say, a guy that I think just is a joke for a football quarterback, even that kid shouldn't talk to him like that. Because that kid wishes that he would have had the college football success, that he could have that success like Johnny Manziel did, that he could get drafted like Johnny Manziel did, and that kid wishes he could have been in that position as Johnny Manziel. And until you're in that position, you don't know what it's like to be talking about people flaming out or people being free agents. So here's that video in case you didn't see it. But yeah, I just wanted to rant about it because that's my WTF of the week. Honestly, it made me just go like, what the fuck, man? Like, what is wrong with this kid to be talking to Cam like that? And I'm glad that other NFL players stuck up for him. So here's that video.
You ass. You're a free agent. You're a free agent. I'm rich. You're a free agent. You about to be poor. I'm rich. You about to be poor. I'm rich. You about to be poor. I'm rich. You're a free agent. I'm rich. You're a free agent. I'm rich. He's a free agent. Where's your daddy at? Let me talk to your dad. Let me talk to your dad. Where's your dad? You're a free agent. Where's your dad? You're a free agent. Talk to your dad. You're a free agent. You ass. Talk to. Let me. Where's your dad? Where's your pop?
All right, so as you can see, just super disrespectful, not cool at all. And, Cam did post another video later in which he's talking to the kid. And I like that Cam said, "Where's your father?" and wanted to talk to the father because at the end of the day, this is like a parental problem or whoever's, taking care of this kid to let him know like, yo, that's not right, man. Like, who do you think you are to be talking to somebody, to anybody like that? And so that was just terrible to see. So I wanted to start the show off with that because it was just really bothering me that things like that happen, and it just sucks, man. It's a sad reality for the youth in sports today. But all right, so without further ado, I'm gonna bring in my friend who is a Washington Wizards fan, who is a San Francisco 49ers fan, and just a sports fan in general. So I'm going to bring in my friend Trent Land. What's going on, Trent? How are you, Washington Wizards fan, Trent?
What's up, Christian? How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on and joining me.
Yes, sir. It's always a pleasure.
Well, yeah, man. All right. Hopefully we'll do this more times. I'm testing this technology out and hoping I'm doing it right. So hopefully it works. All right. Well, let's just pick things right off with the All-Star teams. Yesterday, obviously, the reserves were announced, which also means a lot of guys were pissed off because their names weren't heard. So we have the All-Star rosters. So just kind of to remind everybody, we'll go through that. The the starters for the West are obviously already were announced, and we know that Luka's in there. We know that LeBron is in there. Why am I blanking out? Rudy Gobert, obviously, starting at center there. Kawhi Leonard, not Rudy Gobert, sorry, Nikola Jokic, Kawhi Leonard, there we go, and Steph, obviously, are the starters. Man, that was really tough for me to get through the West starters. On the East is a lot easier. Kyrie, Bradley Beal, KD, Giannis, and Joel. Do you have Brad Beal? Yes, sir. He's leading the league in scoring. Do you have any issues with the starters?
I have issues with the Western Conference starters.
All right. So again, Luka, Steph, LeBron, Nikola Jokic, and Kawhi. Who's your biggest issue there?
Oh, well, first of all, Damian Lillard is should be not even on the team.
No, he did. He's a reserve.
He's a reserve. Okay.
They announced him yesterday. Yeah.
I think you swap him out with Luka.
Okay. So all right. So I mean, I could see that. I mean, basically just based on the fact that the Blazers are doing better record-wise than the Mavs.
Yeah.
So I definitely could see Dame maybe should have been starting over Luka. But other than that, anywhere else, obviously, I mean, the Warriors are doing pretty bad too. So would you have put Dame ahead of Steph Curry?
No, just because it's just because it's Steph. Luka doesn't have a track record like Steph.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. So I mean, that's where it gets complicated here with all this all-star voting, because it's kind of tough to realize if people are voting them in based on their resume over the years. Is it this season or is it their team and how they're doing? So, I mean, to be honest, for me, I put more weight on how their team is doing. Like, I don't think, for example, I don't think it's right that the Nets have 3 all-stars and the Sixers just have 2. Like, I have a problem with that. So, like for me, KD, between KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, they all have obviously that resume, but I don't think all 3 should be in there. And the one I would probably leave out is probably Kyrie for missing games. And just because he's only played like 60-something% of their games this season. So that's my kind of theory. I put a lot of weight on how their team is doing and the team record, because obviously if you're an all-star, that means you're probably carrying the load for the team. So, and then the resume, sorry?
And then Kyrie hasn't been at all.
Yeah. I mean, what do you mean? He hasn't been playing?
He didn't play for a while, and then minutes were getting cut. And then I don't think, did Harden make it in the East or no?
Yes. Harden's a reserve with KD.
KD.
KD and Kyrie are starting in the East. So that's what I'm saying. The Nets have 3 guys starting.
That's weird.
3 guys playing in the All-Star game, 2 guys starting. And I don't think Kyrie should be starting. Honestly, I just think Kyrie's starting because obviously he's very popular.
In place do you think in place should be for Kyrie?
I mean, in place of Kyrie, I just think Ben Simmons. People don't like this take, but I think Ben Simmons is super underrated. I think the Sixers wouldn't be half as good as they are without him because of everything that he does defensively. He's, this year he could be a potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And also, he just, I don't know if you. I mean, to me, he passes the eye test, and where he doesn't, they play at his speed. And he can lock down somebody defensively. And everyone always says he's not a threat to shoot. But that's fine. He's not a threat to shoot, but the dude's like 6'8". He's not your short point guard.
Floor for sure.
Yeah, and he finishes in the paint. He's got a post game. He can play with his back to the basket, and he's quick enough to get by the first defender.
I feel like in give it another 2-3 years, and he'll be able to shoot the 3 ball really well.
Yeah, and that's my problem with everyone that puts such an emphasis on the 3 ball, because that's why you just put shooters around them. You don't have to be a great 3-point shooter as a point guard. Like, it's maybe not the conventional way, but LeBron isn't necessarily the conventional point guard either, but he runs that team.
He runs point 90% of the time.
The Pelicans the other day tried that with Zion, pretty much running the point and bringing the ball up, and it worked pretty well against the Celtics. Like, sometimes it's just you don't play by the book exactly, and it'll work. But other than that, I don't have a problem. Joel Embiid, sure lock. The dude's probably an
For
MVP
sure.
this year. Giannis, of course, you got
Beast.
to put him there. Bradley Beal, I think his season and the statistics and the fact that the Wizards aren't that behind the playoff spot, I think he's fine to be there. I don't have a problem with him.
He deserves to be there with the heart and effort. The amount of times he's gotten snubbed, he deserves to be there.
Right. And so this is where I kind of think, like, between KD and Kyrie, I would have only picked one to be a starter. And I would have picked KD because, the games he's missed aren't because he's been just lazy to come to work. And they've been either COVID related or whether, to be honest, for a time there too, in the beginning of the season when James Harden hadn't been traded there and Kyrie wasn't playing, Kevin Durant was carrying that squad. So I would put KD in there over Kyrie. So that's my problem in the East. And in the West, really in the West, I'm good.
East, I don't understand how Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are in the game. But
okay, so this is where we get to the reserves. So now, if we look at the reserves, so in the East, the reserves, like you just said, are Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, which I have a problem with that, but we'll get to that. James Harden, Zach LaVine, first All-Star appearance. Julius Randle, I'm super happy he's in because that Knicks
Julius
team,
Randle's been balling.
He's been balling, and that Knicks team is actually playing some pretty good basketball.
They're playing together.
Yeah, Ben Simmons and then Nikola Vucevic for the Magic, which he's there like Bradley Beal is there, just based purely pretty much on statistics because that Orlando Magic team is just not good, which I don't have a problem with at all either. I'd say from the reserves, the only problem I have is, that there's Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are both in there for a Celtics team that's below 500, not playing great. Sure, these guys have stats, but that's where I'm like, if your team is not a top 4 playoff spot, you can get one guy in there based on stats, but not two.
Who would you make a reserve instead of Jason Tatum?
This is the thing, though. I just don't know if I would put Tatum or Brown in there. It's one or the other, and that's where I have a really hard time deciding from the two. Obviously, people would say it's got to be Tatum, but I almost, in my opinion, I just think Jaylen Brown's freaking great player.
I think he's been playing better than him.
Yeah, and exactly. I think Tatum gets all the hoopla and all the highlights, but Tatum is a baller. So
they're both ballers.
Who I would put, I think obviously the Bucks, like it or not, they've been reeling lately, but they have a better record than the Celtics. I think they deserve Chris Middleton in there more, second player in there more than.
I love Chris Middleton. I love that guy.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's great.
Super consistent.
For sure, consistent. Obviously, I don't think he's got the clutch gene per se, but he's consistent. And I think the biggest snub in the East to me is Domantas Sabonis. The Pacers have no one in there. And this dude, no one talks about him, but he's averaging 21.5 points a game, 11.5 rebounds a game, and almost 6 assists. Those are great freaking numbers. And the Pacers team is in the playoffs right now. They're playing pretty good.
I know those numbers are comparable to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Right. And that's what I'm talking about. The rebounds are for sure better. The assists are probably around the same.
And the points are right there.
The points are a bit under, but he's not a shooting guard. He's a goddamn forward. So that to me was the snub. That's who I would have put there ahead of Tatum probably, because I just think that we're rewarding some of these guys based on their name and the highlights. And I don't like that. And then the West, the reserves are Damian Lillard, arguably should have been starting. Donovan Mitchell, which I'm super happy about because this dude's been playing awesome. Rudy Gobert. Paul George, Anthony Davis, and Chris Paul, and Zion's in there as well. The same thing. I don't know that Paul George deserves to be in there. The dude hasn't played that much, and I think there's guys that are better deserving of him. If you want to put your boy Devin Booker, I would have been fine with that.
I was about to say D-Book.
Yeah, so Booker deserved that spot in my opinion more.
Just like LeBron said, Devin Booker and Damian Lillard are the two most underrated players in the league.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I do think that. And my boy Luka right here showed us exactly why he's a starter though last night with that shot against the Celtics.
Yeah,
so that was insane. What a game. He was feeling it there towards the end. So all right, well we're gonna play a little game. I'm gonna throw out some names here, and then we're gonna say if they're snubs or not. Okay. So let's start with Devin Booker. I think we agree, right? Definitely snubbed. Snubbed. All right, for sure.
No,
DeMar DeRozan.
Oh man, I feel like that's a snub. I feel like that's a snub. I know you're gonna say snub. You love him.
That's
you
my guy.
DeMar.
Yeah, I love DeMar. Yeah, I think snub also. Chris Middleton. We talked about him.
I don't know if that's a snub. He's just a consistent. I feel like he's a good consistent role player, but I don't think he's all-star.
I agree with you. I don't think he's a snub either. I think it's only there are guys that are more deserving than him. I think to be in the All-Star game. So and they have Giannis already. If he was their only player, sure. But that's why like even a guy like Trae Young that I don't think deserves necessarily. Well, that's our next guy, Trae Young. Go ahead, snub or not?
No snub.
No snub. Yeah, for me neither. I just think that
we got to give him like another year or two.
And he may have the numbers. He's averaging 27 and almost 10 assists a game. That's great, but the team's not that good. But what I'm saying, if you're going to reward someone based on just numbers, then that's where I'm like, he maybe could get ahead of Chris Middleton. That's what I was going to say earlier, because the Bucks already have someone there. So that's kind of how my train of thought goes. But it's team success first, and that kind of allows for the right amount of number of all-stars that your team will have. Mike Conley.
No.
Okay, yeah, me neither. I think obviously, the Jazz are playing outstanding, but he's missed a couple games, and I just think that his numbers there don't back it up. He's averaging like 16. And
I feel like
6.
he's definitely a little bit overrated, Mike Conley.
I think statistically he's overrated, but I think what he brought to that team is that like veteran presence at point guard, like
leadership.
If the Clippers had Mike Conley, I think they'd be championship favorites, because they're missing that steady point guard. That point guard.
I think Mike Conley's I think he's a great point guard, but I just think he's a little bit overrated. That contract was a little much.
Yes, I agree, especially at the time, because I think, like you said, I think his most valuable asset is his experience and his veteran leadership.
Yeah.
Bam Adebayo.
I love Bam. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to snub.
All right. Well, he's averaging almost 20 points, almost 10 rebounds a game, and almost 6 assists. The only argument for me there is you can't have Bam in there without having Sabonis in there, because like I just read off Sabonis's numbers, they're better. And every single category they're better. And neither of those teams have an all-star in the game. So the Heat don't have one. And
what do you think about
the Pacers?
Tyler Hero? Tyler Hero has not been playing good this year.
Well, he hasn't, and neither really has Duncan Robinson. I think people have started to figure those guys out. Hero's been out a little bit with COVID stuff. But we'll see. This is another kid that's up and coming, but I'm going to say not a snub, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA.
I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah, so he's almost at 23 points a game already on, a pretty bad team, but it's not one of those bad teams where it's like empty calorie stats where they're just letting him score as much as he wants. It is a team that's kind of, playing together. They haven't won that many games, but they're pretty competitive. I do like the Thunder. For a team that's been built to pretty much have a high draft pick, I think they're playing pretty damn well for that team. So Darren Fox is the other one, but this is where I'm just saying, like, sure, his numbers may not be bad. He's averaging 22 points and 7 assists a game, but he is not like that team is just too bad. Like, they're just really bad. So that's where, for me, I think that, that's where I'm out on the Darren Fox as far as All-Star this year. Maybe in the future,
I like him. He reminds me of John Wall a lot.
Yeah, with that speed. But if I had to pick a guy to start my franchise with between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Darren Fox, I'd pick SGA, 100%. All right, last one, Tobias Harris.
No.
Not a snub.
Not a snub.
Oh. All right. Well, yeah, I agree. Also, I just don't think. I don't think the Sixers. If there was a team in the East that would get 3 guys, I think it would be Philly. But this is where I don't think his numbers are as good to be, an all-star. And like I said, I think there's other guys more deserving. So overall, we're gonna have an all-star game. I'm at least excited that the more things seem like normal, I think the better, at least for us as fans. So I'm excited for that game. You're going to be in Atlanta during the game, so
Yeah, I'll be down there.
So that's exciting. Maybe we'll have you on right afterwards. You can tell me about your experience there.
That'd be great.
Right.
What do you think about Chris Paul getting in?
I love it. I'm not gonna lie. I totally underrated Chris Paul before this season. I always thought he was overhyped.
I never thought he was overhyped, but the way he can make a playoff team is insane.
He's just I forget who it is. Someone on TNT always says like he's the best leader in the game, and I see it. And the thing is, you just don't hear much about him publicly. So all that leadership.
He's quiet.
Yeah, all that leadership must be behind closed doors, and that is the best way to be a leader. So, this year has changed my whole opinion on CP3. Absolutely, I just think that.
You look at what he's done. You look what he did in New Orleans. You look what he did in and OKC last year. Year. You look what he did in Phoenix this year.
Right.
Took two terrible teams back-to-back years.
Right.
And now made them playoff teams.
And made them competitive.
Playoff contenders.
The Thunder were competitive last year. They took the Rockets.
Both teams had young players.
Right.
I think the Suns have a little bit better talent than OKC did last year, which is scary because OKC in the playoffs last year looked good and they were tough.
Yeah. No, I agree with you completely.
That tells me the Suns can go pretty deep.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, we'll see how far they'll go. I think they're going to be up there, probably the 4th seed in the West, and could definitely get past the first round, which for them will be an accomplishment. They haven't been in the playoffs in a while, so
deep. That's deep for them. For that franchise, that's deep to go.
Yeah, that's deep to go.
They shouldn't even be there right now.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, that'll wrap up us talking about the All-Star game and the All-Star starters and reserves and the snubs. But let's talk about your Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
All right, so your Washington Wizards are winners of 5 straight. This team stunk before those 5 games. I mean, I'm sorry, but they were not that good. So
they need to come together, man.
Right.
Let Russ and Brad Beal get used to playing together, and let's see what
do you think that they're doing differently? Because like I said, they've won 5 straight. They just lost a game, actually, I think. Right? Didn't they just lose? They lost to the Clippers last night. Okay.
Yes.
So they had won 5 straight, but the 5 straight were tough games. Like they were like road games. They played the Lakers. I saw the ending of that. I think you saw the whole game, right?
I watched the whole game with Lakers fans.
Oh, nice. So you got to let them know.
In Santa Barbara. And there was like 4 or 5 Lakers fans there, and I was the only Wizards fan. They were yelling at me and barking at me the whole time.
So here, I'm going to go through their game. So they beat the Celtics at home. Then they beat the Rockets at home. So those two, I mean, for them, impressive wins because obviously they were underdogs, I'm assuming, for both of those games. But then they beat the Nuggets, which I was surprised, and they were definitely underdogs for that one because I think I lost money on that game because I bet the favorite, which was Denver. Then they went into Portland, beat the Trailblazers, went into LA and beat the Lakers. And then obviously they got smacked to the Clippers last night. But before that run, I mean, they were 6-17 before that run, looking pretty far away from a playoff spot, and now they're not that far out. They're literally 2.5 games out from the 8th seed. And remember, this year, you don't even need to be an 8th seed. You need to be a top 10 seed for the play-in tournament. And, for a team that was that bad in the beginning, I mean, that'd be an accomplishment. So tell me, as a Wizards fan, what's your expectation for this team this season? Where do you think they can go? And are you at all worried about Bradley Beal leaving you guys?
I'm not worried about it because he said himself that he wants to build a team in Washington D.C.
Okay.
So I believe him on that one. He's been loyal to the city, and even John Wall was loyal to the city. I mean, I love John Wall.
That's true.
Been my favorite player growing up, and he didn't have a bad exit or anything. It was peaceful, so I like it. But I think the team starts with Rui. Next year, I think Rui will be nice in the league. He'll feel comfortable and he'll be balling. He's already balling. But when he plays good, the whole team plays good.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't watched him play that much except for that game the other day. And there's just such a difference because I also watched him play probably a month prior to that, and Westbrook was a walking turnover. I've always been a Russell Westbrook fan. I just have. I love like his energy, and he's always
It's
going to bring it.
cool.
But I don't know what
I feel
happened
like
lately with him.
I don't know. He has those games where he gets excited. I don't know. I'm a big Russ fan too. I've been a fan since he was on OKC, but I think he just needs sometimes like you'll notice in a game he'll make a dumb mistake, and then he'll get upset about it, and then he'll go do it again. But after he does it again, he won't do it the rest of the game because he just needs to slow down sometimes and just not go so fast.
Yeah, maybe just learn from the first mistake and try not to repeat
again.
that move.
But I think with our team though, him and Bradley Beal just need to just play together a little bit more, and I think they'll gel. They'll gel a lot better.
Yeah, and they have pieces. What about the rookie Adjiva? What's his name? Danny Adjiva.
Yeah,
Adjiva.
Yeah. He's all right. I mean, I haven't really seen him do too much. He's been a consistent role player.
Yeah.
You could compare him to Chris Middleton a little bit, not much though, but a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I like this Wizards squad, and what's your ceiling for them? How far do you think they can go this year, realistically?
Realistically, first round of the playoffs. Depending on who they play.
Good, I respect that. I thought you were gonna like on some crazy shit and say conference championship or something.
If they play, or they get maybe a little extra piece at the trade deadline or something like that, maybe the second round.
Yeah.
If they play like they did this past week, because they weren't just playing like OKC or Indiana. They were playing tough teams. They were playing Portland. They were playing the Lakers. They were playing Houston. I mean, they're playing some pretty good talent teams out there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I will kind of slow down the bandwagon a little because obviously they've been playing Portland, who's been missing CJ McCollum and Yusuf Nurkic. The Lakers didn't have Anthony Davis. But at least in the East, you ain't got to beat those teams, at full strength. So in the East, I agree with you. I think their ceiling is a first round competitive series. More than likely, probably not a competitive series, but you never know. They have the guys to do it.
But they could squeeze past. You never know.
Yeah, it just depends on. I mean, in the playoffs, it's all matchups and who's playing hot and who's not.
Who's hot when? Who's got the hot hand?
Yeah, so we'll see. Well, that's good. So, obviously you've been a Wizards fan since I've known you, and we'll switch gears to the NFL. So in the NFL, you're a Niners fan. So what do you want this team to do? You guys went from the Super Bowl and like 10 minutes away from winning the damn thing against Patrick Mahomes to last year, kind of just not having a great year. Obviously,
Injuries.
Really banged up. Yeah, I was just gonna say so many injuries. First of all, what do you think that you guys need in the draft?
First of all,
what's your take on Jimmy G?
Let's start with our management and our coaching staff, because I think we had the best coaching staff in the NFL, other than Andy. And Andy Reid's a wizard.
You thought this before last year or even after last year?
Even after last year.
Okay.
But because we were a little bit competitive, even with all injuries. I mean, Raheem Mostert was maybe played 3 games healthy.
Jimmy McKinnon was out for a while.
Jared McKinnon. We lost Solomon Thomas. We lost
tight end was out.
We lost Kittle. We lost Bosa. I mean, we lost all of our top players. Literally every single one. Richard Sherman was out.
Wasn't there a receiver that was out for a while?
Deebo Samuel was out for a while.
Okay.
So I mean, we lost a lot of players. Dante Pettis got traded away. I mean, we lost a lot of players, but we're gonna rebuild. I think I want us to trade a first round pick or 2 in Jimmy G for Deshaun Watson. That's what I want to happen.
Well, I mean, I think everyone's obviously the top of the wish list is Deshaun Watson. I see that. I've heard rumors about the Vikings and that you guys really want Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins?
I've heard rumors that we really want Deshaun Watson.
Well, I've heard rumors we want Patrick Mahomes too, but no, but okay, well, yeah. So but if you guys had to start the season with Jimmy G, do you have faith in him winning a Super Bowl?
I have faith in him. I mean,
Okay.
look what he did in our Super Bowl season. We almost won the damn thing.
That's
But
true.
I mean, our run game was insane that season. Raheem Mostert almost rushed for 1,000 yards. The touchdowns were there, and then even our backups were killing it. Jeff Wilson was killing it. I think he's going to be great this year. Jeff Wilson's going to kind of take Raheem Mostert's place this year. I feel like he's kind of getting old. He's getting banged up. He's getting hurt easier and easier every year.
Okay.
The injuries have always been bothering him his whole career, though, even before he was even with us.
Yeah.
But I feel like our run game is our key to our offense because it opens up Jimmy G.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that the Jimmy G needs that. I don't think he's the type of quarterback that can have all of the weight on his shoulders. I do think that he's a QB that needs kind of a running game so that he's kind of option B, if that makes sense.
The strongest part of our team, though, is normally would have been our defense. But
yeah,
Sherman was out. Joey Bosa was out. Solomon Thomas got hurt. And that was Solomon Thomas and Joey Bosa got hurt the same. Nick Bosa, sorry, got hurt the same freaking game in New York, MetLife Stadium.
Well, I'm looking at some mock drafts here. They have you guys getting an offensive tackle, Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State, which, I mean, I don't know anything about the offensive tackles in college football really, but
we need an offensive line.
Right. So maybe that's where the running game struggled, because I do think, like you said, you guys just had a lot of injuries. I don't think necessarily the weapons are that much, because you guys have what's his, why am I blanking on his first name? Kittle. What's his first name?
George Kittle.
Yeah. All right. So George Kittle, you guys are set a tight end with him. He's arguably top 5, top 3 tight end in the league when he's playing good.
I give it. There's no better tight end than him. But other than Travis Kelce, him and Travis Kelce are number one and number one. Those two fight over that spot every other week.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys have the weapons, receivers. You guys had Brandon Ayuk, right? He played pretty solid.
Brandon Ayuk is solid. He went to college at ASU. I watched him here.
Yeah.
I'm from Arizona. I lived in Arizona my whole life. I watched him when he was in college. And,
he's looked good.
He killed it for Arizona State. And then he went to San Francisco, and he's been solid. I think he's gonna have a breakout season this year. That's our number one breakout guy this year.
Well, yeah, with him, with Deebo Samuel, and like you said, if they use the running backs, if Jet McKinnon can get healthy, then you guys have the weapons. So I don't dislike that pick on the offensive line, and maybe it is just injuries, but we'll see.
We just need we just need Deshaun Watson, or we need to grab one of these free agent receivers like Kenny Golladay.
Or that's not bad. Allen Robinson's going to be a free agent from the Bears.
Allen Robinson or Chris Godwin.
That's right. Chris Godwin is going to be a free agent too. Well, I wish you and your 49ers luck, unless they play the Vikings, which in that case, then I hope we smack you guys. But all right. Well, Trent, thanks for joining me. We'll wrap this up now, because otherwise me and you could just talk sports forever, which I'm sure we'll do probably after this call or soon enough anyway. But thanks for hopping on and letting me kind of experiment with the Zoom thing, see how this works. And if it's all good, then let's do this more often, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yep. I'll talk to you later, Christian.
All right. Sounds good.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Yes. All right. So a huge thank you to Trent. I hope that the technology worked out and that you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to try to do that more often and have some more guests on with me. It makes it a lot more fun, obviously, when I can talk to someone and have a real conversation and go back and forth. So hopefully the technology worked and everything sounds and looks right. And I'm going to go and fix the batteries of the smoke alarm because it is dinging and bothering me. Need to get that fixed. So I will go get on that so that we don't have this little beeping for next episode. But thanks for watching. Yeah, I remember. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Unsportsmanlike Conduct.